किसने पढ़ना?
नहीं मैं कहा बैठ जाए, पता भी टाइम ज्यादा होता है आप बैठ जाओ।
अच्छा जी, एक ज़ुलान सुनो। एक परसों मंडे को वो आ रही है ना खाने से बाप न्यू कैसल, तो जिसने जाना है बंदोबस्त है, तो मसलूमा को नाम दे दो जिसने जाना है, ठीक है? कुड़ियां आगे हो जाओ ना, सोना लगता है ना बंदा आगे बैठे आ। बुढ़ा तो बैठे निकलना ना, तो तुसी ने बैठ के बैठी आओ।
या रसूल अल्लाह, या अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद वअज्जिल फरजहु। माओ के दूध से पिया है या इली मदद, माओ के दूध से पिया है या इली मदद, हमने पीने से पहले सुना है या इली मदद, हमने पीने से पहले सुना है या इली मदद। लोगों मेरी लहद में वो मंजर अजीब था, लोगों मेरी लहद में वो मंजर अजीब था, जब मैंने खुद अली से कहा या अली मदद। नारा हैदरी हैदरी हैदरी, बुलंदर सलावत।
अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि अस्समीइल अलीम मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी ला यब्लुगु मिदहतहुल क़ाइलून वला युहसी नअमाहुल आद्दून वला युअद्दी हक़्क़हुल मुज्तहिदून। अल्लज़ी ला युद्रिकुहु बुअदुल हिमम वला यनालुहु गौसुल फितन। अल्लज़ी लैसा लिसिफ़ती हद्दुम महदूद वला नाअतुम मौजूदुन वला वक़्तुम मअदूदुन वला अजलुम ममदूद। फ़तरल ख़लाइका बिक़ुद्रतिही व नशरर रियाहा बिरहमतिही व वत्तदा बिस्सुहूरि मैदाना अर्दिही। वस्सलातु वस्सलाम अला सय्यदि अस्लिम मा फ़िल वजूद। सिरल्लाह फ़ी कुल्लि मौजूद, नुक़्तते दायरतिल वजूद। साहिबे लिवाइल हम्द वल मक़ामिल महमूद। अल ख़ातिमी लिमा सबक़ वल फ़ातिही लिमन ग़लक़। अल मुहलिनिल हक़्क़ बिल हक़्क़ अबिल क़ासिम मुहम्मद अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद वअज्जिल फरजहु व अला आलिहि तय्यिबीन ताहिरीन अल मअसूमीन अल मुंसजबीन अल मज़लूमीन। अम्मा बाद, क़ाल सुब्हानहु व तआला फ़ी किताबिन मुबीन व फ़ुरक़ानिल मजीद व क़ौलुहुल हक़। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। फ़स्अलू अहल ज़िक्र इन कुंतुम ला तालमून। मिलकर बुलंदतर सलवात। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद वअज्जिल फरजहु। Please let's hold our hands up in dua. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. نادى عليا مظهر الأجائب تجده عونا لك في النوائب. كل هم وغم سينجلي بعظمتك يا الله بنبوتك يا محمد بولايتك يا علي يا علي يا علي. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجه. My elders and my sisters and my youngsters, I'd like to take a few moments of your time today to continue our topic from yesterday and to give you something else to think about in the light of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. The ayat that I have recited in front of you, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. In today's time, and in every time, believe it or not, all the people had different questions, had different needs. And like today we're saying, well, there's new questions coming up every time. And we need answers to the questions of every time. So yes, our parents do say to us that the Quran has the answers to everything. If I can have your attention, please. So we believe, or at least we know, that the Quran has the answers of everything. But yet, when we are presented with a question, who do we go to? People. We ask somebody just like me and you. So what does the Quran say? If you have a question, then the Quran says, the ayat of the Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you have any questions, if you do not know, ask the Ahl Dhikr. فَاسْأَلُوا, ask Ahl Dhikr, ask the Ahl Dhikr, in kuntum la ta'lamun, if you do not know. Yes, we do ask our parents, and we ask people who are more knowledgeable with regards to the deen, about our deen. But in the end, there are some questions that maybe you don't want to ask anybody, or you can't ask anybody. And at the end of the day, you and I know that anybody, be that our parents, be that ulama deen, be that anybody apart from the infallibles and the Quran, everyone has a human, and they can make an error. Yeah? So if you need to really ask something, go to the Quran. And if somebody has said, well, no, the Quran is too difficult, there's I'll tell you about a website, islamicity.com or islamiccity.com. You can type in your questions, and you can type in words, and it will bring up ayats of the Quran. And it's really easy. If you come across one word that maybe you think, well, this doesn't make sense, type it again. And you'll see where that word has come in the Quran, and it will make sense to you. Try it, and it'll work. So, we've been presented with this ayat which says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the Ahl Dhikr if you do not know. Ya Allah, what is Ahl Dhikr? Or who is the Ahl Dhikr? We still haven't got the full answer to our question. Who do we go to? Yeah? Now, if I again translate it word for word, Fas'alu, ask, Ahl, family, Dhikr, Dhikr is what I'm doing at the moment. Praise and explanation, or not supplication. But what I'm doing at the moment is I'm doing the dhikr of Allah, and I'm doing the dhikr of Rasool. So dhikr isn't something that you can touch. Yeah? Dhikr is what you say. So, what is the family of dhikr? I mean, I'm saying the dhikr, and in about an hour I'll be finished. But who's the family of dhikr? So let's ask the Quran again. Let's ask the Quran again. What is dhikr? What is dhikr? So we type it in again, and the Quran says, قَدْ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكُمْ ذِكْرٌ رَسُولٌ. قَدْ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكُمْ ذِكْرٌ رَسُولٌ. Verily, قَدْ, verily. أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ, Allah has sent down upon you. إِلَيْكُمْ is upon you. So verily Allah has sent down upon you dhikrun, dhikr, in the form of Rasool. So now we know dhikr is Rasool. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ means ask the family of Rasool if you do not know. This is not part of what I was going to say, but just coming up from this ayah. Again, when I said that there are some questions that you don't want to ask your elders, you don't want to ask your sisters and brothers, you don't want to ask the ulama deen. Yeah? And the Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the family of the Prophet if you do not know. Now the family of the Prophet, the first thing that comes to your mind is, where is the family of the Prophet? I can't see them. Yeah. So who is our Hazir or Nazir family of the Prophet at the time? Who is Imam Zamana? The family of the Ahlul Bayt, or the Ahlul Bayt, or the family of Rasool of the time is Imam Zamana, but we cannot see him. That does not mean that he cannot guide us. And I'm not just saying it, I'll prove it. We all believe Rasul Dina 5. Yeah? Rasul Dina 5. Can anyone tell me? Go on. Okay. Okay. So Tawheed, Adal, Nabuwat, Imamat and Qiyamat. Tawheed, we all believe there is only one Allah and no one but Allah. Adal. Adal means that everything is in a balance. You know, there's no tipping of the balances either way. Everything is in a balance. And if you know physics, then you know that everything has an equal and opposite reaction. And that's the adl of Allah. Yeah? So, the adl of Allah says that when we have shaitan, who is with us all the time, and even if we were alone in a jungle, or alone in a room, or alone anywhere, then he'd still be with us and we could still do gunaah and we'd say, shaitan, you know, he told me and I did it. And so if we have so much of a belief that whether we are alone anywhere, shaitan can get to us and get to our thoughts, then surely we must believe, if we are the believers of Allah's adl, that Allah has kept an equal or even higher sense of hidayat that is available to us more than shaitan is. So in the month of Ramadan, shaitan is tied up, but hidayat is still there with us. So in the 12 months of the year, we have shaitan with us all the time, and we say, kids even say, oh well, I didn't do that. Maine ye nahi kiya, shaitan ne kiya. I didn't do that, it was shaitan. Well, we all know that it wasn't really shaitan, but sometimes we try to get away from it. So, shaitan does put the waswasa in you. Yeah? Because we know that from the Quran. But then, because we have the belief that shaitan can misguide us, he misguides us. But we do not have the belief that Imam can give us guidance even when we're alone. That's why we do not see. We have closed our hearts and our minds to the hidayat that he gives us, even when we're alone. So the next time, even when you're alone, try asking for hidayat from Imam. And if you do not get your answer, then come and tell me. But if you believe that you will get the hidayat, then you will get the hidayat. It could come in little signs, it could come as a dream, it could come as anything, but you just got to open your hearts and minds to the hidayat provided by Imam. And I have tried it myself, and it works. If there's anything that maybe you think, how do I do it? You know, I had a friend just now, and she had something really important that she wanted to tell the Imam. And I said, well, why don't you write an ariza? And she was like, how do I write an ariza? You know, I said, it's just simple, just like you would write a letter to a friend. But then, yes, you do think, oh, well, it's not just a friend that I can write anything to. How do I start? How do I finish? What do I do? Imam looks at your niyat. So if you've got a pen and paper, yeah, even if you think what you want to say and just do circles, yeah, Imam knows what you're thinking. If you don't have a pen and paper, just do niyat and do it on your hands. And then, you know, send it away to Imam. He is there all the time. Much more than shaitan is. When Allah says, I'm closer to your jugular vein, because He is closer to you through your Imams. And He is there, He's available. It's just for you to open your hearts and minds to Him. There's something else that I will tell the little girls as well as my elders. If there's something that you really want, and you think this is maybe impossible, try writing 40 arizas every day. So for 40 days, write a letter to Imam, whether it's as simple as Assalamu alaikum ya Imam or Assalamu alaikum ya Ibn Zahra, and then your hajat in 2 lines, and fi amanillah. It doesn't matter how big it is, but write for 40 days. And when you start writing for 40 days, you'll get so used to it, you won't want to stop. But just write for 40 days, or even do the niyat that you want to write for 40 days, and you will get what you want. There's it's a true story that somebody we knew, he was leaving the country to go, he was migrating. And he closed everything, and he was waiting to go sort of next week, like he had a week before he was going. And then a week before he leaves with all his family and all his belongings, and he's got suitcases and passports and everything and money, obviously. If you're migrating, you need some money. Bank accounts are not open. So he's got some cash, passports, visas, very important jewelry, everything. Even the kids had the most important stuff all packed away. But what happens a week before they're leaving is the house, the maid or the person who's working in the house took the bags and left. Now you can just try to imagine how upset and how worried this person is, because all their belongings, the most important belongings, because stuff that's not very important you send away before or after. But the very important belongings, passports, visas, money, it's all in there, and they've got to leave in a week. So somebody told him about the 40 arizas, and he said, well, I haven't got 40 days, but I will do this niyat. And he started writing straight away. He didn't doubt it for a second. He started writing straight away. I'm sitting on the mimbar, and on the 3rd day, the maid herself knocked on the door and gave him his suitcases. And when they opened and checked, everything was intact. And when they asked her, she said, well, somebody had given me false promises, XYZ, but when I went there, there was a hurdle in front of me that I couldn't do it. I had to come back and give you your stuff. So this happened, and he, well, obviously now he finished his 40-year visas, and he's happily settled where he wanted to go. Similarly, a few years ago, well, quite a few years ago, there was, before governments and parliament started, this is for my little youngsters, there was kingship. And during kingship, the kings had wazirs, and there was a lot of struggle to find the truth. There still is, and there was then as well. And people came to the king, who was Shia. Sorry, he was not Shia, he was Ahl Sunnah. And somebody came to him and said, because we Ahl Shia believe that Imam Ali is the direct successor of the Prophet, which I said this yesterday. That Ahl Sunnah believe that there's 4 caliphs, and Imam Ali comes at the end. So now, this man has brought a pomegranate, anar, yeah, the one that you cut up and there's so many little seeds in there, red coloured seeds. He's brought this anar and he opens it up, and on the sides of the anar, it's like as if it's engraved. On the 4 sides, it's engraved the name of these 4 caliphs. So, because it was on a fruit and it was a natural thing, he said, look, the king, you can prove to everybody that our religion is the true one. And really, there was 4 caliphs, and Allah wants the 4 caliphs. Yeah? Before the 3 caliphs before Imam Ali. So, the king at that time, he called the ulama of Shia and Ahl Sunnah, and he showed them the pomegranate, and he said, what do you, the Ahl Shia, have to say now? And they said, well, it's obviously, if you see something like this, you are going to get worried, and you're going to think for a second, hang on a minute, it's engraved in the fruit. You can't deny it. It's in front of you. So the ulama Ahl Shia, they said, give us 3 days and we'll find out. We'll try and find out why, or how to prove to you that no, we are still at the truth. So they asked for 3 days, and for 3 days they went away and they prayed all day and all night, because this is something that they've been preaching for a long time, and it is under threat. And they themselves want to know. They want to prove to themselves, what the truth is. So they prayed and they prayed and they prayed, and now there's only sort of 3 hours, or like a really short time to go back to the king. And the king has said, look, if you can't give me an answer, then you are going to turn your religion. So they have a yaqeen inside of them, but they have to prove something. And it's not just about their yaqeen, it's about everybody else as well who's listening. So now, they've gone into, there's only a few hours left, and they're crying and they're crying, and they said, we don't want to change our religion. Please, Mawla, please come to our help. And one of them, as they're crying, and when you're crying quite a lot, he kind of like, he fell asleep. And in his dream, as he falls asleep for those few moments, he sees that Imam
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum
has come in his dream, and he is saying, go to this place, and under this place, and he's explaining where for them to go, and they will find the answer. So after Imam has said to him in his dream, he said, Ya Imam, we have been crying and we've been asking for help for 3 days. Why did you not come earlier? And the Imam says, well, your yaqeen said to you that I will come to you in 3 days. If your yaqeen said to you that I will come to you straight away, then I would have come to you for help straight away. So in the end, these alims went to the king and they said, okay, this is where we're going to go. And when they opened they opened the cupboard, or whether it was under the floor, there was a trapdoor. And they saw a bag, and when they opened the bag, they found how do you explain it? They found little molds. So what the man used to do is, he didn't have just the one pomegranate. He had a few. He had a pomegranate like a plant or a tree. So he used to, when the pomegranate was small, he'd put the mold over the pomegranate. So as the pomegranate grew and grew and grew, it grew into the mold. So that was the answer to the question, why a natural thing had the names engraved on them. But the point of the story is, Imam himself has said, if you believe that we will come now, we will come now. If you believe we'll come in 3 days, I'll come in 3 days. If you believe that you're not going to get the answer from me, then you're not going to get the answer from me. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wajil farajahum. Kind of veered off my topic now. So, fas'alu ahl dhikr in kuntum la ta'lamun. If you do not know, ask the ahl dhikr. And now we know who the ahl dhikr is. Yesterday we were discussing about the ahmiyat, the importance and the status of the Prophet. And now Allah is saying, قَدْ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكُمْ ذِكْرٌ رَسُولٌ. We discussed that Allah is perfect. And therefore, the medium through which He is being introduced should be perfect. And we are saying that Allah has made the Rasool perfect. So now Allah is saying in the Quran, قَدْ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكُمْ ذِكْرٌ رَسُولٌ. Verily, I, Allah, have sent down dhikr in the form of your Rasool. So dhikr, like I said, is what I'm doing now. I'm explaining about, or I'm praising, praise. Yeah. So Allah has sent down dhikr. Whose dhikr has He sent down? If Allah is sending out dhikr, whose dhikr is He sending down? Allah's. Yeah. So Allah is sending down His own dhikr. We discussed this yesterday, that Rasulullah was made for the sole purpose of knowing Allah. Now he knows Allah, and Allah is sending him down as dhikr. My dhikr is what I'm saying right now, and it's going to go away. The minute I've said it, it's gone. Allah's dhikr is live, talking and walking dhikr. So Allah is sending down His own dhikr in the form of Rasool. Now say for example, I did dhikr yesterday, and somebody was to come up to me and said, you know, Fatima, you've said this wrong, and this was wrong, and this was wrong. Then is it the fault of the dhikr? So if I recited an ayat of the Quran wrong, does that mean that the Quran is wrong or the ayat is wrong? Or is it that I haven't learned it properly? It's my fault, isn't it? Yeah. So now Allah is saying that Rasool is dhikr. And Allah is sending down His dhikr. Therefore Allah is the zakir. At the moment I'm doing the dhikr and the zakir. If you point faults at my dhikr, that means you're pointing faults at me. Therefore Allah has said that Rasool is his zikr. And if you or anybody points faults at the Rasool, they are actually pointing faults at Allah. And verily it is known that anybody who points faults at Allah cannot be a rahmatullah or radiyallah. Bawaz balan salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wajjal farajah.
So we are humans of error. And if we say that the Rasool is like us, we are saying that he is also a human of error. And if we're saying that he is a human of error, we are actually pointing the error towards Allah. So imagine, if Allah is perfect, he has sent down perfect zikr. There's no faults in it. There can be faults anywhere but in this zikr. Not because of the Rasool, but because of whose zikr he is. He's the zikr of Allah, and Allah is the dhakir. So when people have said, Nauzubillah, that Rasool was like us, or Rasool, when it was time for him to leave the world, he asked his ummah for a paper and a pen so he could write his will. And people sat down next to him, said, Nauzubillah, Nauzubillah, he's lost his mind, or he's confused. And that's why he's asking for this. Well, people did not want Rasulullah to put it in writing who was his successor, or whatever the reason was, they did not give the Prophet the pen and the paper, saying that Rasulullah, Nauzubillah, has lost his mind. So if you say that Nauzubillah, Rasulullah has lost his mind, you're actually pointing fault at Allah. And if you're going to do that, there's no way that you can be close to Allah. If you don't even believe in the Tawheed, that He is perfect, that Allah is perfect, because you're pointing faults at Him. Our Rasool was made so perfect by our Lord that he was the perfect in speaking, in talking, in walking, in his etiquette. And so good was his etiquette that you probably all know, and your parents have told you all, that when Rasulullah, when somebody is so perfect, when people want to make friends with them, or they're jealous of them. There's either one or the other. So you either want to make friends with somebody or you're jealous with them. But Rasulullah was so perfect and he's never hurt anybody. He started making enemies when he went out to tell them, Qulu la ilaha illallah. Say la ilaha illallah. There's no God but Allah. So now he started to make enemies. And what did these people do? You all know that when he was going to pray every day, and how many times did we go to pray? 5 times? And every time he used to go to pray, there was a lady, his neighbor, or the lady that used to stay on his way, she used to throw rubbish on him. And look at the akhlaq of the Rasool. He did not change his way. He did not tell her anything. He did not start swearing at her. And he didn't take revenge. She was a lady. He could have easily, hit her or anything. But Rasool did not do that. And one day, this lady doesn't open her door to throw rubbish at him. And what does he do? He asks. He says, where is this lady? And people say, well, she's actually ill. So he knocks at the door, and when the lady sees him, obviously if you've done something bad to somebody, whether that person takes revenge or not, you know that you've done something bad. Yeah? And this is the hidayat within you that's telling you that you have done something bad. And straight away she's ill. She has a temperature. She can't get out of bed. And she said, Oh Muhammad, please, I know I have been bad, but I'm ill today. Please don't take revenge from me. And he said, oh lady, I'm not here to take revenge from you. Because should I wanted to have taken revenge from you, I would have said or done something at the same time. I'm not here to take revenge from you. Instead, I'm here to ask, what can I, Muhammad, do to make you feel better? And this lady goes on her knees, falls on her knees and said, verily, somebody with such pure akhlaq can be nobody but one sent by Allah Himself.
Allahu Akbar. Ya Rasulallah. Ya Ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
So I'm going to ask a question to Rasulullah, because I don't get it personally. I said, Ya Rasulullah, this person is throwing rubbish at you every day. And it's not one day, it's not 2 days, it's every day for a long period of time. Ya Rasulullah, Muslims today are saying, if somebody attacks you, if somebody's attacking you verbally or whatever, even verbally, they're not even throwing stuff at you. Declare jihad, 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 right, we're going, there's jihad here and jihad there and jihad, 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 right, against the kafirs. Kafir XYZ this and kafir this. Ya Rasulullah, why did you not pull out your sword and declare jihad and go and seek revenge from her? She is a kafir. She's been a kafir for a long time. She's throwing rubbish at you, Ya Rasulullah. So what will Rasulullah say? I do nothing. We discussed this yesterday. He does nothing and says nothing unless it is the command of Allah. And Allah did not wish for jihad. What did Allah wish for instead? He says, I am not here to kill the kafir. Instead, I am here to uproot the kufr from within them. I'm not here to kill the human beings and the kafir. I'm not going to label them a kafir. I'm not going to kill them because they're kafir. I want to uproot, I want to kill the kufr within themselves. So that when the kufr has come out, has been killed, has been uprooted, then they will be on the Rahah. And we should learn from that. So tomorrow somebody, and these days it's really easy for our youngsters because it's everywhere. So-and-so, 17-year-old, learning, engineering, doctor, or something, and then all of a sudden what do we do? And what do we know? He's on the news, or she's on the news. She's gone to Syria and she's starting to kill kafirs apparently. But this is not what the Rasool or Allah wanted. If Rasool or Allah, I'm not talking about Rasool because the Rasool did not do anything out of his own will. If Allah wanted for us to kill people, then that was the worst time when people used to verbally and physically abuse the Prophet. Kids were told to stand in the streets and pick up stones because the adults couldn't do it. Because they didn't, they had a clan system and, I guess you guys will understand this. My mum is related to your mum or cousins and this and that. So if we don't like somebody in the family, we can't attack them directly, So they said to the kids, oh, well, if the kids are going to attack them, then we'll just say, oh, well, it was a fight between the kids. Or the kids were playing and Muhammad got hurt. So they used to send their kids to pick up stones and, like we play pebbles and stuff. Pick up pebbles and throw them at the Prophet. And if Allah wanted for us to react in a bad way, then surely He would have sent down, He would have said to the Prophet, react. But the Prophet did not react. Who did react though? Imam Ali. Why? Because he was on the same level as those. He was also a child. Yeah. So because sometimes we don't know the full situation and we react, and then afterwards realize, oh my God, actually it was, the situation wanted something else. So if Rasool had reacted, people would have said, he's gone crazy, he's reacting to children. But Imam Ali he didn't just start throwing pebbles at them. He said to them, and we're learning from this, and these are the rules of jihad. If anybody comes, inshallah, when our Imam comes, and if we are ordered by him to go to jihad, these are the rules of jihad. It's again not what I wanted to talk, but I think it's very important for the time that we're living in at the moment. Jihad, the first thing, we do not kill animals, do not kill trees. Has anyone watched the message? You watched the video, like the videos of Hazrat Yusuf and Amir Mukhtar, and yeah. There's one called The Message, and it's about Rasulullah, and in that they have the first battle of Badr, and in that they explain the rules of jihad. Do not kill do not harm a plant or a green tree. Do not harm any animals. Do not harm children. Do not harm ladies. Do not harm elderly. Do not harm somebody who has come in front of you to fight but does not fight with you. Or somebody who has come in front of you to fight but then turns his back and runs. Do not hit them from the back. So how? Sorry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, was Imam Ali controlled by Allah as well?
Yeah. Because he, Ana wa aliyun min nurin wahid. Rasool said, Ana wa aliyun min nurin wahid. They were made out of the same nur. So they are made out from the same reason, the same maqsad. And therefore, when Allah says through the Prophet, Lahmuka lahmi damuka dami, it doesn't mean like your mom would say to you, oh, you are my flesh and you are my blood. Because actually, if you cut your mom's flesh and you cut your mom's blood, it's different. Your mom might be an O positive and you might be a B plus or something. Your bloods, they're different in different categories. But when Allah says through the Prophet, Lahmuka lahmi damuka dami, it means literally they are made out of the same meat, the same blood, the same flesh, the same everything, the same nur.
Nare Hadri Yai Hadri Yai Hadri Yai Bulantar Salawat Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wajil faraj.
So therefore we see in even Imam Ali alayhi salam that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went from this world, the Ali who could lift the door of Khaybar with his two fingers, he was that brave that people were scared of him. But when it was the time for him to do sabr, when it was Allah's command that he is not to say anything, then people burnt down his door. They hurt, not physically, they didn't have, if they were to touch Bibi, then they would have, because I'll say that in the Masayib, and I'll explain this bit. That when somebody even pointed at Bibi Sakina and said, I want her as my slave girl, Nauzubillah, then straight away, when Allah's wrath comes, it comes straight away. And straight away his hand, it stopped working. It just went paralyzed straight away. It statued like that, ice. Because Allah wanted to show that this is just not on. So when the people burnt the door of Bibi Sayyidah, she was behind the door. They burned the door, they pushed the door against her, and she was holding a little Mohsin in her hands, and a little Mohsin, who was a few days, he was shaheed. because she and the little baby Mohsin were pushed between the wall and the door. And then obviously people were pushing against it, and 40 men came into Mawla Ali alayhi salam's house. The people who, in the battlefield, the whole army, when Imam Ali was there, they stopped just from him looking at them. Today they have the courtesy or the courage to even go to his house and wrap a rope around his neck and pull him through the streets of Medina on the rope, like when you see these videos, you'll see that often they show that in the olden days they used to wrap a rope around, tie a rope around the person's neck who they wanted to kill or hurt, and they'd hold it and they'd climb on a horse and then drag him through the street. So this person would die out of just the wounds that he suffered. So when it was time for Imam Ali to keep quiet and do sabr, he did sabr. But when it was time for him in Badr and in Uhud to save the Prophet, then he did that. So we know, even Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, we can see that when he did battles, he was the bravest of all the soldiers. But when it was the hukm of Imam of the time, he left his weapons behind, because the Imam of the time did not want it. So they have shown, these infallibles have shown, that it doesn't matter what your mind thinks, because when you think that Hazrat Abbas has gone to the battlefield without weapons, obviously he's going to die. But it's not about what your mind is telling you. It's about what the Imam of the time is telling you. It's about, for them, it was what Allah was telling them to do, or what Allah willed them to do. They kept quiet, and it did. Whether it makes sense to your brain or not, it's what Allah wants. And therefore for us, whether it makes sense to our brain or not, if the infallibles want us to do something, do it straight away, without thinking. And they are the zamin of your safety and your health. Bawazibillah salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
So now Rasulullah does not do anything sivai what Allah wants. And like I say, he's not here to kill the kafir. He's here to uproot the kufr out of them. And we are wanting to step in their footsteps and follow their footsteps even. We can't step in their footsteps. We want to follow their footsteps and try to do what they wanted us to do and what they've shown us in their lives to do. And people, like I said, people still say, well, Rasulullah knows Billah for 40 years. He did not know that he was a prophet. For 40 years, he did not realize. And one day, all of a sudden, he went to the mountain, and Jibreel came down and said, read. And he said, I don't know how to read. Well, if you are jahil, and if you don't know how to read, if you are, if you don't know how to read, then basically you have an error in you, because that's a fault. If you're 40 and you don't know how to read, then people say, well, that's a fault in a person. But Rasulullah has been created faultless. So when Allah has created a medium for him to be introduced through, he wants to show people that Allah is not one who cannot read, na'uzubillah. So if he wants to be introduced through a prophet who cannot read, what are you going to think of the Allah? The Rasool could read, and the Quran confirms that the Quran itself was not revealed on the mountain. Because the Quran says, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. If the Quran was revealed on a mountain, then the mountain would break into tiny pieces. People today, if they have gallstones, they write this ayat with saffron, and they put water on it and they drink it for 40 days and the gallstones are gone. Why? Because the ayat says that if the Quran was revealed on a mountain, then that would break, and the word is, it would break into tiny little pieces from the wrath of Allah, or from the khashyatullah, I don't know how to explain it properly, from the wrath, if you like, the wrath of Allah. So then again, let's ask the Quran. So if the Quran was not revealed on a mountain, then where was it revealed? Where was it revealed? Does anyone know?
Was it revealed from Jibreel?
It was revealed through Jibreel, yes, yeah.
Which is Prophet.
Yeah. نزل به روح الأمين على قلبك. Allah is saying, I revealed the Quran via Ruhul Amin to your heart. Ruhul Amin means, Amin, Ruh is obviously your Ruh, your soul. And Amin is somebody who, a safekeeper. Now, to us, a safekeeper is, if I'm going to give you an envelope, and I'm going to say, right, maybe you might open the envelope and you might see what's inside it so that you can keep it safe and make sure that when you give it to the next person, you show them that this is the envelope and this is what's in it. Or the safekeeper is going to ask me, what's in this envelope, or what are you giving me to give to them? But Amin is, I give you something, you don't ask me what it is, you don't look inside, you keep it just exactly the way it is that I have given you. Yeah, if I've given you this glass of water like this, you keep it like this, and 100 days after, if I ask you for it, it's going to be in the same way. Then you are Amin. You're not gonna, like somebody gave me money and I said, right, okay, I can't go to the cash machine. She won't mind. I'll take 20 and then I'll put 20 back. So I've still given her £100. Yeah, but I'm not Amin in that sense, because I have taken something out and then put something back in. So it's not exactly what she gave me. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Amin is one who does not even look or know what is the amanah. Take it, and the way they've taken it from you, they give it back to you in the same way. So when people say Jibreel spoke the ayat, he cannot have spoken the ayat because he did not know what the ayat was, based on this translation of Amin. And if you look in the books, this is the translation of Amin. So that means Rasulullah knew the Quran from the Lawh Mahfuz. He gave it himself to Jibreel. At a certain date and a certain time, you give this back to me. And in little portions, as he was given, he's given it back to Rasul. I am aware of the time. It's one of the alims recently said, the clock is running. So yeah, this clock is running too. What we were saying is Rasul is perfect. And what we're trying to prove is that he was a prophet from the beginning of time. And the Quran was not revealed to him when he was 40, but he had it. And I proved it through the Quran. He had the Quran, he knew the Quran, he's given it to Jibreel. When Allah has made him, then Allah has already given him the knowledge, because yesterday we said he was made to know Allah. So Allah has given him the knowledge. From that, He's given it to Jibreel in small portions. At this date, at this time, come back to me and give it to me. And Jibreel has given him the packages. Yeah? From Allah. And we say that, like I said, people said that Rasulullah, Nauzubillah, he was confused and Allah is saying, and he was shook, and there was Jibreel operated his heart and then changed his heart, and but the Quran says, "Nazala bihi ruhul amin ala qalbika." We put this Quran, we reveal this Quran to your heart via ruhul amin. Okay, and we've always said, if this Quran was revealed on the mountain, then the mountain would fall to pieces. And the mountain is the strongest thing. So if somebody said that I can move mountains, and they're trying to say just how strong they are. They're trying to tell us that they're really strong, because the mountain is the strongest thing on the earth. So if the Quran has the ability to throw apart mountains, then imagine the strength of the heart of the Prophet that has taken the Quran within its folds. And if somebody is so strong and has got such a strong heart that they take the Quran, which even the mountains cannot accept, then how can we say that that person's mind is so weak that at any point of time he loses his mind or he gets confused? So Allah has given us all the answers of what we think, how can we prove this? Well, He's given us the answers in the Quran. And now, if we want to know how was Rasool? Well, Rasool he is Sardar Anbiya. He is the leader of all the Nabis.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
If I had a team and I was the leader, then I would be expected to know what each of the team can do. And I would be expected to be able to do what each of the team can do and do it better. Yeah? So, Rasool is the Sardar, the leader of all of the Anbiya. And let's look at the Anbiya really quickly. Adam, he was made fil ardi khalifa. He is the Khalifa of the whole world. Fil ard, the earth. Yeah? So Adam is the Khalifa of the earth. Hazrat Nuh, he creates the boat of salvation. And in the Quran, his own son leaves this boat of salvation and seeks refuge on a mountain. And the Quran says to him that in the Quran, I'm not going to go into the ayahs because at the moment we haven't got time. In the Quran, Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam says to his son, coming to the boat, do not be a kafir. If you come into a boat, then that does not mean that you're a Muslim. So why is Nuh saying that come into a boat, because if you don't, you'll be a kafir. Don't be one of those kafirs. Because this boat of Hazrat Nuh is different. It's not like a normal boat. It's the boat of salvation. So if you leave the boat of salvation created by the Prophet, if you leave the Prophet, then you are kafir. And Nuh said, but he is my son. And Allah says, Laysa min ahlik. If he has left you, then he is not of your family. And this is a blood relation. So that means that a prophet is one who is Khalifa fil ard. A prophet is one who, if he has a boat of salvation, if you leave that boat of salvation, you are a kafir, no matter if you are related to the Prophet. Then let's look at Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. We all know, or I hope we know, that when Hazrat Musa alayhi salam when he was born, Pharaoh was killing all the babies of the time. And so his mother put him in a basket and put him in the lake. And a few days later, when all the babies of the area were killed, and there were so many thousands of babies that were killed, Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, she sees this basket, and she pulls it in, and then she says to Pharaoh, so many kids have been murdered. This might not be, that child. It doesn't have to be that child. You've probably murdered that child who was supposed to take over your kingship from you. So now Musa is a few days old, and we all know that a few days old baby needs food, and that food is milk. And at that time we didn't have bottles to feed kids. We had mothers to feed their children. And Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, he's a few days old, but then when it comes to a nurse to feed him, he moves his face away from them. Why? Because that nurse is not a Muslim. She is not his mother. She is not the one who Allah has created to give him rizq. So until his sister finds out where he is, and then very many days later his mom comes, until then Allah has kept his rizq, Hazrat Musa's rizq, in his thumb. So he sucks his thumb and he gets his rizq. Therefore a Nabi, the definition of a Nabi is a Khalifa, who has a boat of salvation,